He's 28 years old, a 2.69 ERA, 78 strikeouts in 77 innings, and a contract that honestly looks like a typo, just $8 million per season, with a club option for the same amount through 2026. But perhaps the most intriguing thing about Freddy Peralta is the fact that he is, at this very moment, being discussed as a possible target for the New York Yankees. On a team that already features Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Will Warren, Clark Schmidt, and Ryan Yarbrough holding down their roles with dignity, the rotation seems solid, at least on the surface. But the Yankees know the difference between stability and security. And without Garrett Cole, and without guarantees about Luis Gil's physical condition, a question begins to quietly echo through the Bronx. Is this enough? Because in New York, enough has never been enough. It's no secret that the Yankees operate on a different level of expectation. Here, regular seasons don't define legacies. What matters comes after. October is the real calendar, and it's there when the lights are brightest and every elimination becomes a haunting memory, that miscalculations are exposed. That's how it was in 2017. That's how it was in 2019. That's how it was in 2022. And now, in 2025, the front office knows it can't afford to get it wrong again. In this context, last Wednesday, Zachary Presnell fan sided offered a cold, direct take. The Yankees could target Freddy Peralta as one of their top options next month. Not because they're desperate, but because they're alert. Because they know that even when everything looks in place, despite still playing at a high level part overnight, represents a short. If you want to follow every behind-the-scenes moment of this potential move and understand what's really at stake, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because here, we turn every rumor into a deep dive into what's behind the headlines. And the Peralta case is much more than it seems. According to Presnell, the interest didn't come out of nowhere. The Brewers have a pattern. When they sense a player nearing the end of their contract or reaching peak market value, they act. They've done it before, and they might do it again. Freddy Peralta still has 2 years of team control and no public signs of a new deal on the horizon. For a franchise like Milwaukee, that could be a red flag disguised as calm. But there's a crucial difference this time. Peralta is healthy and playing the best baseball of his career. That changes everything. This isn't a player coming back from injury. This isn't a gamble. This is a legitimate all-star with an arsenal that mixes power and precision, under contract through 2026 at a laughably cheap rate. If the Brewers decide to put him on the market now, it will be to maximize their return. And that means aiming high, very high. And that's where George Lombard Jr. comes in. One of the most promising young players in the Yankees farm system. A shortstop projected to be a future MLB starter. A talent that, according to Presnell, the Brewers would love to see as a centerpiece of any potential deal. But here's the problem. The Yankees are not willing to move him, at least not this season. That firm stance from the front office is understandable. Lombard Jr. represents more than just a future lineup piece. He symbolizes a new generation of internal development that the Yankees have been trying to protect after years of spending fortunes on veterans. The current leadership wants to prove it can build from the inside out. But when a name like Freddy Peralta becomes available, and that's rare, the dilemma hits hard. Do you hold on to the future or bet on the now? Because the Yankees, as structured as they may be, still live under the shadow of October. And a rotation led by Fried, Rodon, and Peralta would completely change the tone of the conversation. It would be a statement, a power move, a response not just to the market, but to the internal pressure the franchise has carried for years. And yet, there is no ongoing negotiation. No offers made, just a scenario analysis, a warning, a bit of anticipation that, in MLB language, is almost a whisper in the dark. But those who know the league know how to listen. The pitching market has been brutal. Recent years have shown how hard it is to find a reliable ace midseason. When one is available, the price is obscene or the timing impossible. Freddy Peralta could be the exception. And if the Yankees take it seriously, they'll have to weigh more than stats. They'll have to decide what matters more: the security of keeping a prospect intact, or the chance to turn their rotation into an October machine. And you? What would you do? Comment below. Would you trade George Lombard Jr. for Freddy Peralta if it meant putting the Yankees back on the road to the World Series? Or would you rather keep the promise of the future, even if it costs another October heartbreak? While the Yankees carefully weigh every step regarding the possibility of pursuing Freddy Peralta to bolster their rotation, a new concern has been growing behind the scenes. One that doesn't show up in ERA or strikeout stats, but reveals itself night after night in the dull sound of weak contact and runners left on base. The rotation might be finding its balance, but the attack is still calling for help. Because in New York, it's not enough to pitch well. You have to hit like October starts tomorrow. And that's where the name Luis Arraez enters the picture as a real and fascinating possibility. According to former MLB GM Jim Bowden, writing for The Athletic, the Yankees are closely monitoring the middle infield market. And among the realistic options, no one fits better than Arraez. He may not have gold gloves, but he carries something even more rare: offensive efficiency that's both reliable and statistically sustainable. With 3 batting titles in the last 3 seasons, Arraez has become synonymous with consistency. In 2024, his first year with the Padres, he posted numbers that defy the logic of the modern league: a 4.3% strikeout rate, the lowest in MLB, and the lowest recorded since 1998. This isn't just a fun stat. It's a rarity. It's statistical gold. And for a team like the Yankees, still living through the ups and downs of names like DJ LeMahieu and Oswald Peraza, Arraez would be more than just a reinforcement. He would be an anchor, a fixed point within an unstable lineup, capable of consistently getting on base and transforming the Yankees' offense into a steady, high-torque engine. According to Bowden, despite still playing at a high level, for a solution that represents a short-term base, and Arraez could be used strategically. He's currently playing first base in San Diego, but with Jazz Chisholm Jr. available to shift between positions, if healthy, Arraez could be moved as needed. The tactical fit is there, and so is the emotional urgency. Because at its core, this isn't just a story about offensive production. It's a story about time. The Yankees have Aaron Judge in his prime, Juan Soto still under team control, and a window that, while powerful, won't last forever. This team was built for the now, and the now demands hard decisions, especially when the infield hasn't delivered as expected. DJ LeMahieu, once a symbol of consistency, is facing a critical year. At 35, his production has declined, his swing speed has dropped, and his defensive versatility no longer makes up for the holes in his bat. As for Peraza, as promising as he may be, he still hasn't locked in a starting role. And in New York, time for player development is a rare luxury. That's why Bowden also mentions names like Brendan Donovan, Cardinals, Brandon Lowe, Rays, Eugenio Suarez, D-backs, Bo Bichette, Blue Jays, and Ryan McMahon, Rockies. All of them could, in theory, be available, but not without caveats. Their price tags are high, the complications numerous, and the confidence shaky. Arraez, on the other hand, already looks nearly ready to wear the pinstripes. The problem? The Padres are still in the hunt in the National League. And despite everything, they haven't yet decided whether they'll be buyers or sellers at the deadline. He's, after all, an elite contact hitter, a player of real value, not just for 2024, but beyond. But as always, things can change within weeks. Jazz Chisholm Jr., for example, recently limped off the field during a game against the Royals with a groin injury. If that issue worsens, Arraez's tactical fit alongside him could become even more relevant or more complicated. Every detail matters. Every twinge of pain can reshape the entire trade board. And then comes the most fascinating part of the equation, the emotional fit. Picture Arraez leading off the lineup, doing what he does best, getting on base. Behind him, Judge, Soto, Gleyber Torres. The Yankees' offense would no longer rely on solo home runs, but instead function with the kind of pressure opponents hate to face. The constant threat of runners on base. The kind of pressure that forces pitchers into mistakes. Imagine in October, where the Yankees don't have to wait for a game-saving grand slam. Instead, they build innings with patience, discipline, and precision. That's the kind of baseball Arraez brings. And it's exactly the kind of baseball that wins championships. But there's a price. There always is. The Yankees would need to give something up. Maybe prospects. Maybe current roster pieces. Maybe something they'd rather keep. But that's what defines a true contender. The willingness to sacrifice tomorrow to secure today. And so, the question is no longer if they should pursue Arraez. The question is, how much are they willing to pay to make sure this is the year everything clicks? And you? Would you make the move? Comment below. Would you sacrifice pieces of the future for a name like Luis Arraez, knowing the offense needs immediate stability? Or would you stick with what you have, even if it risks another early October exit? But while the name Luis Arraez emerges as a surgical offensive fit, another possibility is gaining momentum behind the scenes, a bolder one, more explosive, and maybe more dangerous. Because if the Yankees are truly going all in this year, they might go beyond a contact hitter. They might set their sights on a home run hunter, a star outfielder, a name that, on his best days, swings with the fury of a hurricane, Luis Robert Jr. The transition may seem drastic, but for a franchise like the Yankees, one that understands better than most the way of a championship window opening, there is no room for lukewarm decisions. And if there's one thing Robert Jr. has never been, it's lukewarm. While the league focuses on Arraez, consider the more realistic infield option. Movement behind the scenes is pointing towards something bigger. Because New York isn't just trying to fix the lineup piece by piece. They're clearly setting the stage for something deeper. A reconfiguration of the offense with real impact. And that's where Luis Robert Jr. S name enters the conversation. The contrast is almost perfect. The Yankees sit atop the American League. The Chicago White Sox, buried at the bottom of the AL Central, are beginning to reshuffle their roster for the future. And while GM Chris gets claims the team isn't actively making calls, he also admits teams are showing interest constantly, and that detail matters. Because passive interest doesn't create smoke. But when a franchise the size of the Yankees starts orbiting a name, the pattern repeats. Silence, information gathering, and explosion. That's how it was with Rizzo. That's how it was with Despite Montaz, still playing at a high level, and it might represent a short-term again. According to Francis Romero, a trusted MLB insider, the Yankees are among the teams actively monitoring Luis Robert Jr.'s situation, alongside the Mariners and Phillies. It's the kind of leak that doesn't happen by accident, and suggests that preliminary talks may already be underway. What stands out, however, isn't just the team's curiosity, it's the timing. Luis Robert Jr. is currently going through what may be the most difficult stretch of his career. A performance that, for most teams, would be a red flag. .177 batting average, .265 OBP, only 5 home runs in 58 games. But for the Yankees, this might be exactly the kind of opportunity to exploit what they see as a devalued asset with an incredibly high ceiling. Just look back at 2023. That year, Robert exploded with 38 home runs, was named an All-Star, won the Silver Slugger, and was seen as one of the most promising young players in the league. He had power, speed, instinct, and made it all look easy. What happened since? Injuries, pressure, and maybe the burden of carrying a franchise too broken to support him. That's why a new environment could mean everything. Imagine him in New York, protected in the lineup by Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, free from the pressure of being the savior, and instead positioned as a luxury complementary piece. It's a kind of context that could reignite his game, turn that .177 into .277, and those 5 home runs into a poster-like avalanche. But of course, none of that comes without risk. Robert is only 27. still under a team-friendly contract, which makes him a valuable asset. And while the White Sox may be willing to listen, they won't part with him cheaply. A trade package would likely require young prospects, maybe even players already on the 40-man roster, and all of that without any guarantees, because Robert would be directly competing with Trent Grisham Jr., who, despite being a quieter profile, has been solid, hitting .240 with a .344 OBP and 13 home runs in just 56 games. It would be a head-to-head battle for playing time, and a real test for manager Aaron Boone. Bet on raw talent or reward consistency and performance. The bigger question, however, goes beyond the field. It lands in the Yankees front office, where Brian Cashman and Hal Steinbrenner know that time is the rarest resource. Because Aaron Judge is having a historic season. Juan Soto could leave at the end of the year, and the rotation, even while performing well, won't see Garrett Cole back until 2026. Championship windows don't knock every year, and when they do, you have to throw the door wide open. Which brings us to the ultimate dilemma: invest in safety or double down on raw power. With Arraez, the Yankees gain plate discipline, consistency, and precision. With Robert, they get explosiveness, power, and volatility. Each choice defines the kind of team the Yankees want to be this season: methodical and surgical, or aggressive and unpredictable. And you? If you were Brian Cashman, would you play it safe with Arraez or go all in on the sleeping giant that is Luis Robert Jr.? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. The Yankees community needs you with us for this final stretch. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and leave a like, because the next 50 days will define the future of an entire era in the Bronx. And you're going to want to be here to watch it unfold.